The episode begins with Arel heading to the Yellow Magic Institute to try the promotion exam, but to his disappointment, he finds out that the registration period for the assembly has passed. Without officially registering, he can't get the promotion, and he can't believe he missed the deadline. When he asks when the next assembly will be taking place, he is told that he will have to wait a few months. But that's way too long for him. He asks the woman if there's any way she can make an exception and let him join the current assembly, since he went through all the trouble of creating a new golem for it. But there are strict rules about this kind of thing. However, just then, a man happens to be passing by. When he hears Arel mention that he created a new type of golem, he becomes interested and offers to register as his assistant, which will allow him to participate in the current assembly. Arel eagerly accepts, since it's the perfect solution to his problem. The scene shifts to the reception desk. When he turns back to the receptionist, she tells Arel she can't believe he agreed to be Rodwell's assistant. He asks if there's something wrong with Rodwell. She explains that it's not like he's a bad person, but he is the best instructor when it comes to golem controlling, and he often goes all out against his students, crushing them completely. He's kind of a jerk about it too, which is why no one wanted to be his assistant for this assembly. But even though that sounds like it could be a hassle to deal with, as long as being Rodwell's assistant allows him to participate in the current assembly, Arel is fine with it. The day of the assembly arrives soon after, and after many brilliant presentations, it is finally Rodwell and Arel's turn to make a presentation. Rodwell announces that he will be demonstrating the might of his golems today. All the students in the crowd know that means he plans to crush another student in a mock battle. They feel bad for the poor sucker who got roped into being his assistant. Rodwell summons his battle golems and tells Arel to do the same. So, he obliges and calls for Alpha to come out. Just then, the battle golem Arel created walks out into the arena, and everyone is surprised, since they have never seen a golem made out of metal before. Rodwell is especially skeptical since metal is too heavy to be controlled by earth magic, so he assumes Arel must have hidden someone in there. When he takes the golem's head off, he discovers that the body really is empty and the metal just happens to be really light. Arel mentions that he alchemized the metal himself. Rodwell takes that to mean he sacrificed sturdiness to make it light enough to control, and if that's the case, then it will never hold out against his earth golem. He orders the first golem to charge at Alpha, expecting Alpha to fall apart after a single punch, but to his surprise, not only did Alpha block the punch, but in the aftermath, the arm of Rodwell's golem completely crumbles to dust, leaving everyone in utter shock. Rodwell can't believe Alpha was really able to withstand a hit from his golem. But losing an arm is no big deal, because with his massive mana pool, he can regenerate and reinforce his golems as much as he wants. So he orders all of them to jump Arel's golem at the same time. Arel realizes it will be difficult to counter 4 golems at once, so he decides to use the special feature he built into Alpha and pulls 2 swords out of her back. Rodwell can see what he is trying to do, but he thinks it's a dumb move since golems are nowhere near flexible enough to use swords effectively in combat. However, in the next moment, Alpha dashes past all his golems, slicing them to pieces in an instant. With this, Arel is officially the winner of this mock battle. Rodwell doesn't understand how this could possibly happen. Arel helps him back to his feet and explains that he intentionally designed the golem with lightweight alchemized metal and flexible joints to make it possible for it to perform complex movement without difficulty. Combining that with Arel's existing knowledge of swordsmanship, it was easy to have it perform sword techniques. Rodwell admits that Arel's golem is without a doubt better than his own. Arel asks if that means he is allowed to take the promotion exam now, but Rodwell tells him that instructor's assistants aren't actually considered for early promotion. However, if Arel is willing to join his research team in the meantime, then Rodwell promises to put in a good word for him with the headmaster. Arel is fine with that, as long as it gets him promoted to the next grade. The scene shifts as Arel heads to the White School and asks to take the promotion exam. The promotion process here is a lot more straightforward, so an exam is arranged for Arel, and he is introduced to Cade, who will be in charge of his test. Arel notices that Cade seems to be blind, so he asks her if she needs any help getting around. But as much as she appreciates the concern, she tells him she is perfectly fine. She may not be able to see, but she can sense the magic in the world around her. She can even tell the personality of someone from their magic as well. However, when she looks at Arel, not only does he seem to have a bottomless reserve of mana, but he also has several different types of magic swirling in his body at once. This is the first time she has seen anything like it. She leads him to the test site, an underground dungeon which is infested by undead monsters, and Cade warns him to be careful since the undead will attack him on sight. But, to her surprise, when Arel runs into a group of undead, he just begins spamming holy light to get rid of them. He then continues walking further into the dungeon, but Cade tells him to wait because the test was actually just to defeat the undead close to the entrance, so he has already passed. Besides, she says if he keeps spamming spells like that, he's going to run out of magic sooner or later. But Arel tells her he has only used around 1% of his total magic. Either way, Cade says they should start heading back to the entrance. But along the way, Arel notices something hiding in the corner over there. So he fires a ray of holy light at it. It turns out that there was an undead hiding there. Cade realizes this must be a high-level one if it was able to hide its presence. But Arel doesn't really care, so he cuts the undead off mid-speech and hits it with a holy cross spell to get rid of it. He then asks Cade to hurry up so they can get started on the paperwork for his promotion. But Cade still has a lot to process here because she can't believe what Arel just did. From what she could sense, that creature back there was an undead wight, and it was an advanced monster. Arel admits that it did seem a little different since it was able to talk, but he didn't think about it much. Cade then asks where Arel learned to use the Holy Cross spell, since it's a high-level spell that only expert exorcists gifted with incredible talent are able to use. But Arel always just thought of it as a slightly more powerful holy ray, so he doesn't see what's so special about it. On the other hand, the last one left is the Black Magic Institute, but as it turns out, there isn't a promotion exam here. Arel decides to spend his time doing some reading instead. Latalia eventually shows up and he asks her why there's no promotion exam here. She explains that there used to be one before, but that system kind of fell apart since there aren't many students attending the Black Institute in the first place. Arel admits that there are barely any students in here as he looks around the room, but then he notices the big room over there, and he has been curious about it for a while now. So he asks Latalia what it's for. She explains that the room is for students to test out their magic. While the other institutes are able to freely test their magic outdoors, dark magic tends to be a little more dangerous. So she had a reinforced magic room built so her students can try out the spells they learned. If that's the case, then Arel decides to head in there to try out a few of the more complicated spells he read in these books. Once he's inside the room, as he is flipping through the books, he realizes that there's one here that he has never seen before. He opens the book and all of a sudden a burst of mana escapes from it. Arel can tell that the mana was pretty ominous, but this room is magically reinforced, so it shouldn't have been able to get outside. He looks around to see where it went. That's when he spots someone floating up in the air. That thing doesn't seem like a human, so Arel asks if it's a demon, and the demon confirms it. It says it has been locked away in that book for years now, and none of the black mages here have been clueless enough to open it without checking what it was first. He says he owes Arel a lot of thanks for his help, but if he's going to get back to the demon world, then he's going to need a lot of human flesh and blood as a catalyst. So he intends to kill Arel here and now. However, Arel doesn't intend to go down so easily. He shrugs off the demon's attack and prepares to cast an explosion spell at it. But, to his surprise, it doesn't work. The demon laughs and tells Arel that he already set up an anti-magic barrier in here, so no spells can be used. But that's not going to stop Arel. He charges at the demon, who assumes he must be out of his mind because there's no way a mage would be capable of fighting hand to hand. But before he could even finish his sentence, Arel had already sliced its head off with his wand. The demon can't believe what just happened, but it reattaches its head and comes to the conclusion that Arel must be a magic swordsman. However, even if that's the case, it still thinks there's no way Arel can beat it because it has the blessing of immortality. So no matter how much Arel hits him, he won't die. That certainly makes dealing with the demon troublesome, but Arel recalls that demons use mana to maintain their physical forms, and even with immortality, taking damage over and over is bound to drain the demon's mana reserves. So he decides to just spam attack him until he gives up. At first, the demon tells Arel his attacks are pointless, but eventually he notices that his body is shrinking, and his tone suddenly changes as he now realizes he isn't as invincible as he thought he was. After a few hours of being beaten by Arel, the demon has now been reduced to action figure size, and he is begging to have mercy on him because if he shrinks any smaller than this, he might actually disappear altogether. Arel decides that he has tormented the demon enough for one day, so he agrees to let it go, but not before putting a seal of servitude in its chest. The demon immediately begins protesting because it doesn't want to serve a lowly human, but the seal is already active and it inflicts intense pain win every time the demon tries to rebel against Arel. So he has no choice but to obey him. The scene shifts to 6 months later. The headmasters of all 6 schools are having a meeting to discuss the new budget for the upcoming year. But the headmaster of the Black Institute, Blag, gets up in a rage because he doesn't think it's fair that his budget is being cut by 60%, since he won't be able to do any proper research with an amount like that. However, the representative tells Blag that his institute has failed to produce any meaningful results that contribute to the Magic City, so it's natural that his budget is being cut. All the other headmasters start making fun of Blag and call him a weirdo for dedicating so much time to black magic. The headmaster of the White Institute even tries to convince the city representative to consider banning black magic altogether, but the rep says he has no intention of doing that. He's simply here so they can proceed with budget allocation. So he asks if there are any more objections, but everyone seems to be in agreement. So he says the budget will be finalized following the results of the magic tournament. All the headmasters get up to leave, but Black is still frozen in place because he can't believe his institute's budget is being cut by so much. The rep tells him that glaring isn't going to solve his problem, and if he really wants to increase his institute's budget, then he needs to prove the value of black magic during the magic tournament. In fact, if the Black Institute manages to win, he promises not to cut the Black Institute's budget at all. But that's only if the Magic Institute can win. Meanwhile, that same day, Arel and his friends are walking through the streets and he wonders why everyone is putting up so many decorations. Kufa can't believe Arel hasn't heard of the festival yet, when it's one of the biggest events held in the Magic City. Arel never really paid much attention to festivities like this, but he has heard of the Institute Tournament, which is the festival's main event. In fact, all the headmasters have asked him to participate in the rookie segment, but he hasn't decided which school he wants to represent yet, so he will be meeting with them tomorrow morning to discuss it. That night, in a desperate attempt to secure victory for himself in the tournament, Blag spends a lot of time creating a magic circle that connects to the demon realm, and from it, he summons a high-level demon known as Gluttony. He intends to use it to prove how useful black magic is, but suddenly, the slime betrays him and swallows him whole. This was the end of episode 10. Subscribe to not miss the next.